The first time my alpha wife accused me of cheating, I was standing in our kitchen, barefoot, nauseous, and secretly counting the days since I'd missed my heat. Who is she? The question wasn't loud. It was worse, controlled. Cold. Precise. Rhea Vale never raised her voice unless she wanted the entire room to tremble. Tonight, she didn't need to. I turned slowly, one hand instinctively pressing against my lower abdomen. It was a small gesture, unconscious. Protective. I don't know what you're talking about, I said carefully. Her silver eyes flashed, pure alpha dominance. 6 feet of tailored power, dark hair slicked back, sleeves rolled just enough to show the veins in her forearms. The entire corporate world bowed to her. But I was her wife. Or at least, I thought I still was. You smell different, she said. My throat tightened. Of course she noticed. Alphas had heightened senses. She could pick up stress hormones, fear, even lies. But what she was smelling wasn't another woman. It was pregnancy. 3 weeks ago, during a rare truce between our constant power struggles, we'd fallen into bed together. No dominance games. No territorial arguments. Just skin against skin and breathless confessions neither of us would admit in daylight. Now life was growing inside me. And she thought I'd betrayed her. I've been working from home, I replied, forcing calm. When exactly would I have time to cheat on you? She stepped closer. My pulse jumped. Even after 3 years of marriage, my body reacted to her alpha presence. Heat pooled low in my stomach, mixing dangerously with nausea. You've been distant, she said. Guarded. You avoid my touch. Because if you touch me, I might tell you. Because if I tell you, you'll think I planned this. Because you once said you never wanted children. Her jaw tightened. I had you followed. The words hit harder than a slap. You what? Rhea didn't blink. You left the house Tuesday at noon. For a doctor's appointment, I snapped before I could stop myself. Silence. Her eyes sharpened. What doctor? I hesitated. Stupid. Fatal hesitation. Her scent darkened, storm and steel. You're lying. I'm not. Then tell me the truth. I couldn't. Not like this. Not when she was looking at me like I was something disposable. She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. Do you know what hurts the most, Alara? My name on her lips used to feel sacred. Is it the cheating? I asked quietly. No, her gaze dropped briefly to my abdomen. My heart stopped. It's that you think I wouldn't notice. Ice flooded my veins. She thinks I'm carrying someone else's child. I felt it then, the shift. The crack in the foundation of our marriage. Rhea, I whispered. There is no one else. Then explain the hormonal spike. The scent change. The way your body reacts when I come near you. Because I'm pregnant with your baby. Because I wake up at night terrified you'll reject us. Because I love you too much to survive that rejection. Instead, I said the worst possible thing. Maybe you're imagining it. Her expression went blank. And that terrified me more than anger ever could. Rhea turned away, adjusting the cuff of her sleeve with mechanical precision. I won't be made a fool, Alara. You're not. If I find proof. There is no proof. She looked over her shoulder. If I find proof, she repeated, I will end this marriage. The air left my lungs. 3 years. Countless battles. Passion that burned like wildfire. And she would throw it away because she couldn't see what was right in front of her. I wanted to scream at her. Instead, nausea surged violently, and I barely made it to the sink before retching. Behind me, I felt her hesitate. For a split second, concern flickered through the bond between us. Then suspicion crushed it. You're disgusting, she muttered. I can smell another alpha on you. My hand trembled against the counter. There was another alpha scent. Yours. You marked me that night, Rhea. You just don't remember. She grabbed her coat. I'll be staying at the penthouse until I decide what to do with you. With me. Not with us. The door shut. The house fell silent. And I sank to the floor, one hand pressed to my stomach, tears sliding down my face. I'm sorry, I whispered to the life inside me. Your other mother doesn't know yet. But something deep in my Omega instincts twisted in warning. Because if Rhea believed I'd betrayed her, she wouldn't just leave. She would destroy me. The next morning, I woke up alone. The house felt colder without Ria's alpha presence, like something vital had been ripped from the air. Even when we fought, her scent lingered: cedarwood, storm clouds, iron. It grounded me. Now there was nothing. I checked my phone. No messages. No missed calls. No "are you okay?" text she used to send after every argument. Just silence. My stomach churned again. Morning sickness, according to Dr. Halden. Perfectly normal for an Omega in early gestation, she'd said gently yesterday. Yesterday. The same appointment Ria had apparently tracked. I sat up slowly, pressing my palm against my lower belly. It was too early to show. Too early for anyone to know. Except an alpha with heightened senses. I should have told her sooner, I murmured. But that wasn't true. There had never been a sooner. 3 months ago, Ria had stood in this very bedroom, loosening her tie after another 12-hour day, and said casually, "Children complicate power structures. I don't want heirs. Not now. Maybe not ever." I'd nodded. Because that's what good Omegas did when their alphas spoke with finality. But I wasn't just any Omega. I was a Laravel, founder of a rising art tech startup. A woman with my own contracts, my own influence. And yet when it came to my wife, I folded. I showered, dressed, and called a car to take me back to the clinic. Dr. Halden greeted me with cautious eyes. She was in her mid-40s, discreet, and one of the few physicians trained in alpha, Omega-bonded pregnancies. "You look pale," she said. "My wife thinks I'm cheating." Her lips thinned. Has she reacted aggressively? Not yet. That pause said everything. She gestured for me to sit. "Elara, you need to understand something. Your hormone levels are unusually strong." My fingers curled on my lap. "What does that mean?" She turned the monitor toward me. 3 small pulses flickered on the screen. For a moment, my brain refused to process it. I thought, my voice cracked. "You said it was early." "It is. But it's clear." Her gaze softened. "Triplets." The room spun. 3. 3 heartbeats. 3 lives. Mine and Ria's. I laughed shakily, then covered my mouth as tears spilled over. "She's going to lose her mind." Dr. Halden hesitated. "Elara, there's more." My stomach dropped. "More? Your scent profile is presenting irregularly." "What does that even mean?" She tapped a chart. The marking during conception was incomplete. I froze. "Incomplete? That's impossible," I whispered. That night had been intense. Raw. Ria had lost control in a way she rarely allowed herself to. Her teeth at my throat. My nails in her shoulders. I remembered the sting. The heat. The claiming. "She marked me," I insisted. Dr. Halden studied the data. "There's evidence of contact, but not a full alpha bond seal. It's as if her pheromones spiked, then were suppressed." Suppressed. A memory surfaced. Ria taking an urgent call mid-heat. Her assistant mentioning a board crisis. Ria pulling away too fast. Cursing under her breath. If her suppressant implant activated automatically under stress, the bond could have fractured. Which meant, to the outside world, I might smell like an unclaimed Omega carrying alpha offspring. My blood ran cold. "Another alpha could detect vulnerability," Dr. Halden said carefully. "You need protection." "I have protection." But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Because my alpha wife thought the babies weren't hers. "And there's something else," the doctor added quietly. I almost laughed. "Of course there is." She handed me a sealed envelope. "Your blood work shows a rare compatibility gene. The kind typically found in dominant alpha lines." I blinked. "I'm an Omega." "Yes," she said. "But genetically, you carry latent alpha markers." The words echoed in my skull. Latent alpha markers. "That's not possible." "It's rare," she corrected. "Not impossible." Suddenly, every argument Ria and I ever had made horrifying sense. Why I could resist her commands. Why my heat cycles were irregular. Why she sometimes looked at me like I was a rival instead of a mate. If my body carried dormant alpha genetics, then these triplets might not present Omega at all. They could be alphas. 3 potential heirs. To the Vale Empire. I stared at the flickering heartbeats again. And for the first time since Ria walked out, I felt fear. Not for myself. For my children. Because if Rhea believed I'd betrayed her, and if the board discovered I was carrying 3 powerful heirs, I wouldn't just be accused of cheating. I'd become a strategic liability. Or a weapon. My phone buzzed. Rhea's name flashed across the screen. My breath caught. I answered. Her voice was ice. Pack a bag. My heart pounded. Why? You're coming to the penthouse. That didn't sound like reconciliation. That doesn't feel like a request, I said carefully. It's not. A pause. Then, colder still. If you're carrying another Alpha's child, I want to see it with my own eyes. The line went dead. I stared at my reflection in the dark clinic window. 3 heartbeats. 1 furious Alpha wife. And a truth that could either save our marriage or destroy us both. The Vale penthouse sat at the top of the city like a throne. Floor-to-ceiling glass. Private security. Keycard access restricted to bloodline and bonded mates. When I stepped out of the elevator, 2 Alpha guards straightened immediately. Their eyes flicked to my neck, searching for a mark. Finding none. Humiliation burned under my skin. Mrs. Vale, one greeted stiffly. Not Luna. Not Madam. Just a title attached to Rhea's surname. I walked past them without replying. The doors to the main living area slid open. Rhea stood by the window, city lights framing her like a war queen surveying her territory. Jacket off. Vest fitted perfectly. Hair slightly disheveled, she'd been running her hands through it. A sign of agitation. She didn't turn around. You took your time. I had work. Cancel it. The command vibrated in the air. I felt it, her alpha push. Subtle. Instinctive. And, for a split second, my body pushed back. The air crackled. Rhea turned slowly. Her eyes narrowed. You felt that, she said. So did you. Silence stretched between us, heavy and dangerous. She approached, stopping just short of touching me. Close enough that her scent wrapped around me, possessive and overwhelming. God, I miss this. You're radiating, she murmured. I stiffened. Radiating what? Fertility. My heart slammed against my ribs. Her gaze dropped to my abdomen again, lingering longer this time. You're pregnant, she said flatly. It wasn't a question. Every instinct screamed to tell her the truth. Instead, fear won. And if I am? I asked carefully. Her jaw flexed. Then we determine paternity. The words sliced through me. You think I would? I think, she cut in sharply, that an unmarked Omega presenting this strongly doesn't happen without an Alpha. I am your wife. And yet, she said softly, dangerously, you don't carry my completed bond. The accusation hurt more because it was technically true. Incomplete marking. Suppressed pheromones. A fractured seal. I didn't ask for that, I whispered. Her expression flickered confusion, then suspicion. What does that mean? I hesitated. And in that hesitation, she made her decision. Rhea stepped back and pressed a button on the wall. The security doors behind me slid shut with a quiet but unmistakable lock. My pulse spiked. Rhea, you'll stay here until we confirm everything. You're locking me in? For your safety, she replied coolly. Or for your control? Her eyes flashed. Don't test me. I laughed bitterly. You already had me followed. And I'd do worse if someone touched what's mine. The words slipped out before she could stop them. What's mine? Hope flared painfully in my chest. Then why are you treating me like I'm not? I demanded. For the first time, her composure cracked. Because I don't know if you're anymore. The rawness in her voice stunned me. She stepped closer again, close enough that our foreheads nearly touched. You've been distant for weeks, she said, lower now. Flinching when I reach for you. Guarding your phone. Sneaking out. I went to the doctor. For what? My throat tightened. If I told her about the triplets now, without proof they were hers, she might see them as leverage. Political capital. Assets. Not children. Not ours. For stress, I lied. Her nostrils flared. Don't. The warning carried dominance, heavy and intoxicating. Heat flickered under my skin despite the fear. I need space, I whispered. You don't get space. Her hand finally reached for me, gripping my wrist, firm but not painful. The contact sent electricity through my body. And that's when it happened. A sharp pulse erupted low in my abdomen. I gasped. Rhea froze. Her pupils dilated. What was that? Another pulse. Stronger. My scent spiked uncontrollably, sweet, warm, undeniably fertile. Her hand tightened instinctively. Your heat isn't due for another month, she said hoarsely. I know. But this wasn't a full heat. It was reactive. The baby's responding to their alpha. Rhea inhaled sharply, and something primal snapped in her expression. Possession. Instinct. Recognition. She pulled me flush against her without thinking. Mine. The word wasn't spoken, but I felt it. Then, a knock at the penthouse door. Rhea stiffened. Only board members had clearance to interrupt her here. She released me slowly, eyes never leaving mine. Stay, she ordered. The alpha command rolled over me again. And this time, it almost worked. Almost. But something inside me, something new, something powerful rose in resistance. I straightened. No. The air went still. Rhea's gaze sharpened dangerously. You don't defy me. I'm not your subordinate. Before she could respond, the door opened. And in walked Cassandra Thorne, Senior Board Director. Pure-blood alpha. Ambitious. Single. Her eyes landed on me instantly. And she smiled. Well, Cassandra drawled, stepping inside like she owned the place. So this is the Omega causing all the disruption. Rhea's body shifted subtly in front of mine. Protective. But Cassandra wasn't looking at her. She was looking at me. At my stomach. And the calculating glint in her eyes made my blood run cold. Interesting scent, she murmured. Rhea went rigid. What are you implying? My wife asked sharply. Cassandra's smile widened. I'm implying, she said smoothly, that if Mrs. Vale is pregnant, the board will require proof the heirs belong to our alpha. Heirs. Not child. Plural. My breath hitched. How does she know? Cassandra's gaze flicked knowingly between us. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. The board already suspected. And if they moved before Rhea chose a side, this wouldn't just be a marriage crisis. It would be a corporate war. The room shifted the moment Cassandra said the word heirs. Plural. Rhea didn't miss it. Her body went completely still, the kind of stillness that came before devastation. Heirs? Rhea repeated calmly. Too calmly. Cassandra clasped her hands behind her back and walked further into the penthouse, as if this were a scheduled meeting. The Vale line hasn't produced a direct alpha successor in 2 generations, she said lightly. Naturally, the board monitors developments. I felt Rhea's anger building like pressure behind glass. You've been monitoring my wife? She asked. Cassandra's lips curved. We monitor the stability of the company. Translation. They monitor Rhea. And anything that could threaten her control. I'm not a company asset, I said sharply. Cassandra finally looked at me fully. Her gaze was invasive, assessing my scent, posture, even the subtle way I stood protectively over my abdomen. You're married to one, she replied. Rhea stepped slightly in front of me. Not enough to cage. Enough to shield. State your purpose, Rhea demanded. Cassandra didn't break eye contact with me. If she's pregnant, we require genetic confirmation immediately. I will not subject my wife to board interrogation, Rhea snapped. Then step down, Cassandra said smoothly. Silence detonated in the room. It wasn't a threat. It was leverage. My heart pounded. They're forcing her to choose. Between me and her empire. Rhea's voice turned glacial. You overestimate your position. And you underestimate ours, Cassandra replied. The shareholders are restless. Rumors of infidelity weaken confidence. Infidelity. The word hit like acid. Rhea's jaw tightened. Cassandra continued, if the child isn't yours, the scandal alone could fracture the stock. I saw the flicker in my wife's eyes. Not doubt. Calculation. She was running numbers in her head. Damage control scenarios. Risk analysis. That hurt more than the accusation ever could. Get out, Rhea said quietly. Cassandra raised a brow. This affects all of us. I said, Rhea repeated, her alpha presence surging violently, get out. The air thickened with dominance. Even I felt it press against my lungs. Cassandra held the stare for 3 seconds too long. Then she inclined her head slightly. As you wish. But the emergency session is in 48 hours. Her eyes slid to me one last time. If you are carrying veil heirs, congratulations. The way she said it sounded like a warning. Then she left. The door shut. And the silence that followed was worse than anything she'd said. Rhea didn't turn around immediately. When she did, there was no anger in her expression. Just something colder. Triplets. My breath caught. How did you? I can smell 3 distinct hormone signatures, she said hoarsely. Of course she could. Alpha. Elite. Brilliant. And you were going to tell me when? She demanded. I was trying to protect them. From me? From the board. The words tore out of me. She flinched. And I knew I'd hit something true. You think I'd let them touch you? She asked, voice low and dangerous. I think you don't know if they're yours. The words hung between us. Her eyes darkened. Are they? There it was. The real question. Not about stocks. Not about power. About us. I swallowed. They're yours. She searched my face for any sign of deception. I didn't finish marking you, she said quietly. I remember being interrupted. Your suppressant implant activated, I replied. The bond didn't seal properly. Shock flickered across her features. That's why my scent is unstable, I continued. That's why it smells wrong. Rhea stepped closer slowly. You're certain? Yes. And you didn't tell me because you said you didn't want children. Her expression changed instantly. When did I say that? In our bedroom. 3 months ago. Understanding dawned. I said I didn't want heirs used against us, she corrected softly. Not that I didn't want a child with you. My knees nearly gave out. You? What? Her voice dropped, raw in a way I'd rarely heard. Alara, I married you knowing you would challenge me. I didn't marry you to build an empire. My chest ached. Then why accuse me? Because I panicked, she snapped. The confession cracked through the room. I smelled pregnancy before I confirmed it was mine. And if it wasn't? Her voice faltered. I couldn't survive that. The vulnerability stunned me. Rhea Vale didn't admit weakness. Ever. I would never betray you, I whispered. She stepped into my space again, but this time there was no dominance, only intensity. I know that, she said. But the hesitation before it was enough. Before I could respond, a sharp pain tore through my abdomen. I gasped. Rhea caught me instantly. What is it? Cramp, I breathed. It's too early. Her eyes widened. Fear. Real fear. We're going back to the doctor. No. Yes. Her alpha command surged again, but this time it wasn't about control. It was about protection. She scooped me into her arms without hesitation. And that's when I saw it. Through the glass walls of the penthouse. Across the street. A camera lens glinting under city lights. The board wasn't waiting 48 hours. They were already watching. And if they captured footage of me collapsing, rumors of an unstable pregnancy would spread instantly. Rhea followed my gaze. Her expression hardened into something lethal. They want proof, she murmured darkly. Her eyes dropped to my stomach. Fine. She looked back at the building across the street. I'll give them something they'll never forget. Rhea, wait, I whispered as another cramp rippled through me. But her expression had shifted into something terrifyingly decisive. Not rage. Strategy. She carried me toward the center of the penthouse living room instead of the elevator. Put me down, I protested weakly. Trust me, she said. That alone stunned me into silence. Rhea Vale didn't ask for trust. She commanded obedience. She set me gently on the leather couch, kneeling in front of me, bringing herself eye level with my abdomen. What are you doing? I asked, breath uneven. She reached up slowly, brushing her fingers under my jaw, tilting my head back. Cameras are across the street, she said quietly. Long-range lenses. Probably live feed. My pulse spiked. You're right, she continued. They're not waiting 48 hours. They want a scandal. She leaned closer. They think you're a liability. Her thumb brushed lightly over the faint, incomplete mark at my neck. They think our bond is fractured. Another cramp hit. I gasped, grabbing her shoulder. Instantly, her entire alpha presence shifted, feral and protective. That was when I understood. She wasn't going to hide this. She was going to weaponize it. Rhea, I breathed, if you do something impulsive. This isn't impulsive. She stood, then helped me to my feet carefully. The city skyline glittered around us. Anyone watching would have a perfect view. Her hands framed my face. Alara Vale, she said clearly. My breath caught. She only used my full name during vows. Or war. You are my wife. Her voice carried, not loud, but powerful. Deliberate. And if you are carrying children. She dropped to one knee. The movement shocked me so deeply I forgot to breathe. An alpha kneeling publicly was unheard of in our circles. Possession was usually displayed through dominance, not submission. She pressed her palm flat against my abdomen and released her pheromones. Fully. Raw. Unfiltered. The air thickened instantly. Heat slammed into me, not painful, not overwhelming. Recognizing. The babies reacted. A pulse surged outward so strong I physically swayed. Rhea's head snapped up, eyes blazing. There, she whispered. Her scent wrapped around me, sealing, claiming, completing. I felt it. The bond that had fractured months ago snapped into place like iron locking shut. Tears blurred my vision. You're insane, I breathed. Probably. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against my stomach. Not my neck. Not in dominance. In reverence. A public claim. Mine, she said softly, but the word carried through the glass like a declaration of war. Across the street, I saw movement. Shadows shifting behind the camera. Rhea stood slowly, then did something that would shatter every board member's expectations. She turned me toward the window, one arm securely around my waist, and kissed me. Not possessive. Not punishing. Slow. Intentional. Her hand slid to my abdomen again as she deepened it. A visual confirmation. An unmistakable alpha claim. When she pulled back, her eyes were shining not with anger. With awe. 3, she murmured. I blinked. You can feel them? They're strong. Her lips curved slightly. Of course they are. They're yours. The words unraveled something tight inside me. They're ours, I corrected. A rare smile touched her mouth. Yes. Another cramp hit, but this time it wasn't sharp. It was stabilizing. The bond had anchored the pregnancy. Rhea's phone buzzed immediately. She didn't need to look to know who it was. She answered without breaking eye contact with me. Yes. Cassandra's voice was faint but audible in the quiet room. You've made quite the statement. Rhea's arm tightened around me. Schedule the emergency session for tomorrow, my wife said calmly. You're certain? Cassandra asked. Oh, I'm certain. Her gaze dropped briefly to my stomach again. And Cassandra? Yes. If anyone attempts to question my wife directly. Her alpha dominance surged through the phone line itself. I will remove them from this company permanently. Silence. Then. Understood. The call ended. I exhaled shakily. You just declared war on your board. They declared it first. She guided me back to the couch, kneeling again, but gentler now. Are you in pain? Less, I admitted. The bond helped. Guilt flickered across her face. I should have finished it that night. You were interrupted. No, she said quietly. I allowed myself to be. Her hand brushed my abdomen again. I won't make that mistake twice. The intensity in her voice sent a different kind of heat through me. Rhea, I murmured softly, what happens tomorrow? Her gaze lifted. Cold. Controlled. Deadly. Tomorrow, she said, they learned that accusing my wife of infidelity was the worst strategic error of their lives. But even as she said it, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I frowned. Don't answer, Rhea warned. Too late. I'd already accepted the call. A distorted voice spoke. If you want your children born safely. My blood turned to ice. Do not attend that board meeting. The line went dead. The silence after the call was suffocating. Rhea didn't ask what the voice said. She already knew it wasn't congratulations. Give me the phone, she said calmly. I handed it over with shaking fingers. Her jaw tightened as she scanned the number. Encrypted relay. Routed overseas. So they're serious, I whispered. They're desperate. She looked up at me, and whatever softness had been there minutes ago was gone. In its place stood the alpha who built an empire before 30. No one threatens my family, she said. Family. The words settled into my chest like something fragile and precious. They told me not to attend tomorrow, I admitted. Ria's eyes darkened. Good. Good. If they're trying to scare you away, it means they need you present. My stomach twisted. As leverage. As proof, she corrected. Or as a target. A chill ran down my spine. She stood and tapped her watch. Within seconds, the penthouse security system activated, shades lowering halfway, internal scanners humming to life. I'm initiating heir protocol, she said. I stared at her. That's real. I created it. Of course she did. For hypothetical future successors, she continued. Private medical team. Relocation safe house. Armed perimeter. You planned this. I plan for everything. A pause. Except thinking you would ever doubt me. Guilt flickered between us. We'll fix that later, she said quietly. Right now, we move. She helped me stand carefully. I'm not fragile, I muttered. Her brow arched. You're carrying 3 developing alpha-grade heartbeats. You are absolutely fragile. Despite the tension, a small laugh escaped me. The elevator ride down was silent but charged. Ria's hand never left my lower back. Possessive. Grounding. Outside, 3 black vehicles waited. Her head of security stepped forward. Ma'am. Route Echo, she ordered. He nodded immediately. As we slid into the center car, I leaned closer. Where are we going? My private estate outside the city. The board doesn't know it exists. That seems dramatic. They threatened you. Fair point. The car pulled away smoothly. For 10 minutes, neither of us spoke. Then, tell me about the doctor's visit, she said. I hesitated. Everything. So I did. The incomplete marking. The suppressed pheromones. The latent alpha markers in my genetics. When I finished, Ria was staring straight ahead, processing. You carry alpha lineage, she asked slowly. Apparently. That explains why you resist my commands. A faint smirk touched her lips. You always hated that. I didn't hate it, she corrected. You challenged me. That's what attracted you. Her fingers tightened subtly. Yes. The admission warmed something deep inside me. But it also means, she continued carefully, our children might present as dominant alphas. All 3. Possibly. I swallowed. Will the board try to control them? They'll try to control you first. The honesty hurt. And if they can't? Her silence was answer enough. The car suddenly slowed. Ria's body tensed instantly. That's not scheduled, she murmured. The convoy had stopped at an intersection. 2 construction trucks blocked the road ahead. My pulse skyrocketed. That's not random, I whispered. No. Her hand moved discreetly to the concealed firearm under her jacket. The head of security spoke through the earpiece. Possible obstruction. Verifying. Before he could finish, a deafening crash hit the rear vehicle. I screamed as our car jolted. Gunfire exploded into the night. Ria pulled me down across her lap instantly, shielding my body with hers. Stay down. More shots. Glass shattered. The driver accelerated hard, swerving. They're targeting the center car, someone shouted through the comms. Of course they were. I clutched my abdomen instinctively. Ria. I've got you, she growled. Her dominance flooded the confined space, stabilizing my panic. Another impact. The car spun sharply, then burst forward through a narrow opening between the trucks. The sound of pursuit engines roared behind us. They're following, the driver yelled. Ria lifted her head slightly, calculating angles. Take the underpass. Kill the lights. The vehicle plunged into darkness. Only emergency dash lights glowed faintly. Gunshots echoed in the tunnel. I buried my face against her chest. Her heartbeat was steady, controlled, ruthless. They won't risk heavy fire underground, she murmured into my hair. Too unstable. How can you be so calm? I breathed. Because panic won't protect you. The convoy split suddenly. I felt the sharp turn. Our car veered left while another identical vehicle sped right. Decoy. Seconds later, the pursuing engines followed the other car. Silence flooded the tunnel. We didn't slow until we were miles away. Only then did Ria lift my chin gently. Are you hurt? No. Cramping? I focused inward. The babies were steady, stronger than before. They're okay, I whispered. Her shoulders loosened slightly. Her thumb brushed my cheek. I should never have let it escalate this far. You didn't know. I suspected internal resistance, she said darkly. I didn't think they'd move to physical elimination. My breath caught. Elimination. She held my gaze. If the heirs disappear before confirmation, the board maintains control. Cold horror settled over me. They'd kill us. They'd justify it as an accident. Silence filled the car. Then something clicked into place in my mind. Cassandra, I said. Ria's eyes sharpened. You think she authorized it? She knew too much. Too quickly. Ria's jaw tightened. If she touched this. Her voice dropped into something lethal. She won't survive the week. The estate gates opened ahead, massive and heavily guarded. As we drove inside, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't about jealousy anymore. It wasn't about cheating. It wasn't even about the board. It was about succession, power, legacy, and 3 unborn children who had just become the most valuable and dangerous lives in the city. Ria helped me out of the car carefully. Under the estate lights, she looked less like a CEO and more like a war general. She cupped my face gently. I need you strong, she said. I am. Her forehead rested against mine. I believe you. The words healed something fragile between us. But as we stepped inside the estate, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't an unknown number. It was Dr. Halden. Ria answered on speaker. Doctor. Her voice was tight. I ran extended genetic sequencing after you left, Dr. Halden said urgently. Mrs. Vale, there's something you both need to know. My stomach dropped. What is it? I whispered. A pause. Then, the embryos aren't just presenting alpha markers. Silence stretched. They're presenting prime traits. Ria went completely still. Prime. The rarest alpha classification in existence. Stronger. More dominant. Nearly impossible to challenge. If confirmed, our children wouldn't just inherit the Vale Empire. They would redefine it. And suddenly, the attack on the road made terrifying sense. Prime. The word settled into the room like a detonated secret. Ria didn't speak for a long moment. Doctor, she said finally, voice measured, confirm the data. I ran it 3 times, Dr. Halden replied. All 3 embryos carry prime-level alpha indicators. Enhanced neural development markers. Elevated dominance coding. It's unprecedented. Unprecedented. Ria ended the call slowly. Her gaze lifted to me. There was no fear in it now. Only clarity. They tried to eliminate you tonight, she said quietly. That confirms it. Confirms what? That the board already suspects something extraordinary. I swallowed. Prime alphas would destabilize their hierarchy. They would replace it. Silence stretched between us. 3 unborn lives. 3 future forces of nature. Ria stepped closer and placed her hand gently over my abdomen. They're strong, she murmured. They're vulnerable, I corrected. Her eyes hardened. Not anymore. She pulled out her phone and made another call. Activate full audit authority, she ordered the moment the line connected. Freeze Director Thorne's accounts. Suspend her voting privileges pending investigation. A sharp inhale came from the other end. Ma'am? That requires majority. I am the majority, Ria said coldly. Check the emergency clause under succession risk. A pause. Then, reluctantly, yes, Mrs. Vale. She ended the call. You're moving fast, I said. I'm moving first. That was the difference. The board thought in committees. Ria thought in checkmate. Within the hour, her estate war room was active. Screens lit up with financial flows, encrypted communications, and security footage from the convoy attack. They rerouted construction permits to block our path, her security chief reported. Funds traced back to a shell company. Owned by? Ria asked. Cassandra Thorne. I exhaled slowly. Ria didn't react outwardly, but the temperature in the room dropped. Release the files to shareholders, she said. Full transparency. Attempted assault on executive family. That will cause panic. It will cause alignment, she corrected. Her hand found mine under the table. Warm. Steady. We don't hide, she said softly to me. We claim. Within minutes, notifications began flooding in. Shareholder emergency session triggered. Media inquiries. Legal advisories. Ria stood. Prepare transport, she said. We're attending the board meeting tonight. Ria, I began. She turned to me. Do you trust me? The question was simple. The answer wasn't. But I remembered her kneeling in front of the skyline. Remembered her sealing our bond publicly. Remembered her shielding my body with hers under gunfire. Yes, I said. Her expression softened briefly. Then stand with me. The Vale Tower boardroom was built like a fortress, glass walls, polished obsidian table, city lights below. Every director was already seated when we entered. Cassandra sat at the far end. Composed. But pale. Whispers rippled as Ria guided me to the head of the table. She didn't sit. Instead, she remained standing behind my chair, one hand resting lightly at my shoulder. A statement. You called this emergency session, Cassandra began smoothly. We were under the impression Mrs. Vale might be unavailable. I was briefly delayed, I said evenly. Cassandra's eyes flicked to my abdomen. Subtle. Assessing. Ria pressed a button on the table. The screens around the room flickered to life. Footage of the convoy attack filled the walls. Gasps echoed. Then financial records. Shell companies. Transfer logs. Digital signatures. All pointing to Cassandra. This is absurd, Cassandra snapped. Circumstantial. Ria leaned forward slightly. Attempted assassination of a Vale heir carries a mandatory expulsion clause, she said calmly. You don't have proof of heirs, Cassandra shot back. The room went still. Ria looked at me once. Permission. I nodded. She knelt beside my chair. The same way she had in the penthouse. Public. Intentional. Her palm pressed gently to my abdomen. And she released her alpha presence. Not violently. Not aggressively. But unmistakably. The air thickened. Every alpha in the room reacted instinctively, heads lowering slightly in recognition of superior dominance. A pulse responded beneath her hand. Strong. Commanding. Even the board felt it. Cassandra's composure cracked. That's impossible, she whispered. Ria stood. Genetic sequencing confirms prime alpha development. Shock detonated across the table. Prime was more than rank. It was legend. Under Vale Charter, Ria continued, any verified prime successor consolidates voting power directly to the alpha parent until maturation. Understanding dawned. Their power structure had just collapsed. You're restructuring the entire board, one director breathed. No, Ria corrected. The heirs are. Cassandra rose abruptly. You can't sideline me based on speculation. Ria's gaze turned lethal. You authorized an attack on my wife. There's no court conviction. There doesn't need to be. Security entered quietly behind Cassandra. 2 prime-trained alphas. Larger. Stronger. Unimpressed. Cassandra looked around the table. No one met her eyes. Because power respected power. And prime outranked all. This isn't over, she hissed as they escorted her out. Ria didn't respond. She simply took her seat at the head of the table. I remained beside her. Not behind. Beside. Effective immediately, she said, voice calm and absolute, the Vale Corporation enters succession protection status. Any move against my family will be treated as treason. No one argued. No one objected. The vote passed unanimously. Hours later, we stood alone in the empty boardroom. City lights shimmered below. It's done, I whispered. For now, Ria said. She turned to me fully. I was wrong, she added quietly. About? Doubting you. The words were simple. But for Ria, they were monumental. You were afraid, I said gently. I was, she admitted. Losing you would destroy me. Emotion thickened her voice in a way no one else would ever hear. I stepped closer. You're not losing me. Her hand slid to my abdomen again. And them. Never. She lowered her forehead to mine. This time, there were no cameras. No board. No war. Just us. I accused you of betrayal, she murmured. And you were carrying my future. Our future, I corrected softly. A faint smile touched her lips. Yes. Below us, The city continued unaware. Stocks would stabilize by morning. News cycles would spin the narrative in our favor. The Veil Empire would grow stronger. But inside me, 3 steady heartbeats pulsed with quiet power. Not weapons. Not assets. Not leverage. Children. Ours. Ria's hand intertwined with mine. They tried to divide us, she said. They failed. Her eyes burned with certainty. No one questions your loyalty again. And no one threatens our family again, I added. A promise. An oath. An unbreakable bond. The accusation that almost shattered us had forged something stronger. Not just a marriage. A dynasty. And this time, there would be no doubt who the heirs belonged to.